Hey there, it's Kris from MCNews.com.au here at the Guerrilla 450 launch. This is the new bike from Royal Enfield, and we're finally seeing a higher performance, small capacity machine, where previously you had to buy a 650 twin for that, better performance compared to say like the 350s. Now we're getting a really commendable 450, which is going to fill that gap. And for people who want that bit more performance, is going to offer an exceptional option. From what I've seen in our first little stint on the bike, there's actually tremendous torque, especially in second gear. You really notice that punch of torque, which makes it a great, really playful little machine around town. Really good manners around town as well, which is always a bit of a concern, because if you're stuck in the horrible Sydney traffic that we did experience a little of this morning, you want a bike that's manageable, especially if you're a new rider. I don't think experienced riders are going to be disappointed on this machine either, but really probably the big takeaway is going to be learner riders can jump on one of these for just over 8.5 grand right away, which is exceptional value. The finish quality is beautiful. It's got a nice relaxed ergonomic to it as well, which means nice low seat height, quite a relaxed overall kind of reach to those bars and the pegs, which keeps you nice and relaxed, quite comfortable as well. Obviously, we haven't spent a full day on the bike yet, so I will do an update on the seat, but I mean, that is pretty good. And certainly if you're jumping on a bike for the first time, this is going to be a great little platform for you to get started on and have a heap of fun. So far, lots of boxes ticked. I will have a bit more in-depth talk about the engine, the brakes, the suspension when we put some more miles on the bike. But so far, I'm blown away. And especially with the price on these, it's looking like a great proposition. And this blue and white one here looks the absolute business with this beautiful metal fleck through the paint. Just a real looker, especially with that blue front wheel as well. Really awesome. Okay, so let's have a bit of a deeper look at the Guerrilla 450. First up, really cool TFT display. I love the round TFT displays. It does sync to your phone via the Royal Enfield app, which will give you onboard navigation, which is really cool. I haven't been able to test it out because my Pixel phone has always had connectivity issues and it's not connecting to the bike, which no one else has had a problem. So I think that's just my phone, unfortunately. Really cool dash, really nice and clear. They have gone for that kind of classic look, but you can change between the different views and really tailor that to what you're after. The controls for a Lamb's bike are a little bit busier because you are getting kind of one of those toggle starts here. You've got your mode button. You've got another little toggle over here. It's nicely done. You've even got a joystick as well for going through the dash, which is cool. Very, very simple, easy to use, just exactly what you'd want on this kind of style bike. And of course, having the navigation and the phone syncing is really important to a lot of younger riders who are going to be looking at this bike. So very, very nice to see. As I've already said, the styling I reckon is a real standout. It's very Royal Enfield, but it is also quite a bit more modern. And so we're seeing a real roadster from Royal Enfield here, which I think is going to keep a lot of people happy on the styling front. But then when we talk about the handling and the performance front, also quite commendable. 40 horsepower, which is a really nice figure for that 400 style bike or 400cc class, or 450, I should say. And very, very nice torque. It's quite a smooth signal. Once you get those revs right up, there was some vibes. I actually noticed it more through the tank than through the handlebars. So the bars are quite well damped. So not a lot of vibrations that are going to cause issues if you're sensitive to that. The torque, especially once you shift into second gear, is really quite punchy for a little small bike like this. You can rev the bike out. I think I saw 140 in fifth gear. So by no means do I feel like you're going to be limited by the performance of this machine, where on the older, littler 350s from Royal Enfield, there was a real cap on the performance, which did mean, in my mind, that to really be doing freeway speeds of 110, you were kind of pushing past the boundary of where the bike still has a bit more performance to go, where this kind of machine, it is designed to compete with the other 400s in the class, and I think it's going to do a really good job there. It's perhaps not the most performance-driven of the singles or the 400 to 500cc machines available, but very, very much delivering well within the class. So I don't think you're going to be disappointed unless you're really looking for the highest performance 450. And I mean, that's just the way it is. This is a little bit more relaxed as far as the singles, and yeah, really nice thing. Nice, smooth, really clean gearbox, really easy shifts, a nice light clutch action as well. So as far as that, I'm really impressed. The suspension, a little bit more on the sporty side. I did notice over some of the really harsh bumps, the rear, you did feel that. But overall, very little to complain about, keeping in mind that you've just got preload adjustability on the rear. So there's a nice, commendable system here. It's not going to be wallowing. It is going to do the job, especially through the sporty roads like we've been doing today. You're going to have a heap of fun. And then probably the one area which I'd say is the weak point is the brakes. Just because I feel like they could have a more aggressive set of pads in them because, yeah, basically I was putting quite a bit of force through those levers. The rear has a bit better feel and power, and it does have a larger 270mm rotor on the rear. I was a little bit surprised because those fiber calipers can be quite aggressive, and sometimes I'd say almost too aggressive. But here I think it probably would benefit from a sharper set of pads with a little bit more bite, a little bit sportier pads. And that's one of my few criticisms of the bike, in all honesty. The seat's nice and comfortable. For shorter durations, this is the comfort seat here, which I haven't had a chance to test out, but that is available. It's quite narrow between the legs, only a 780mm seat height, so that does make it really, really accessible for shorter riders. And 780mm is about as low as it gets in the class until you go down to cruisers, which can be lower again, but 780mm, really, really commendable. And just overall, it's a comfortable, fun machine. It is going to be a great starting place. And I think certainly as an experienced rider, I have really no complaints at all about this particular bike. And there are some nice little accessories you can get to add to the bike, which are going to really kind of spice things up a little. I do like the little dash and headlight cowl because it just cleans up that front end a little bit. There's a headlight protector, there's a radiator guard. The bar end mirrors, in fact, that's going to, give it a bit more of a classic kind of cafe racer feel. So that's really cool as well. Yeah, so overall, just a really commendable machine. I probably would say I'd replace the exhaust. The exhaust itself looks quite good, but it's a miniature little unit there, and it's got a big collector under the bike. I reckon unleashing the sound and the exhaust note from this bike would be worth it, especially as a single, and you're going to lose some weight by getting rid of that collector as well. So it's a bit of a double win there. If you like something with a bit more exhaust note to it, there's a little bit of an intake growl, but not a lot to it. So overall, that's pretty common for all motorcycles these days. But yeah, that'd be one of the few things that I'd really think I'd personally like to replace. But if you're not into loud exhausts, you're not going to care. So yeah, that's the update after getting some decent mileage on the bike. And at the end of the day, I will do a quick wrap up. So that's a wrap with the new Guerrilla 450. This is the new Lambs bike for the Royal Enfield range. And I have no doubt we're going to see this Sherpa engine in more bikes. We've only seen it in the Guerrilla and the Himalayan so far. So you've got your Adventure, and this is the new Roadster. Awesome looker, really cool little machine. Clearly Royal Enfield's way of competing in that 400 to 500cc category, which is much more performance driven. Good tech, good engine, great little bike, really good suspension as well. As I've already said, probably the one weak point I think is just the brakes could do with a harsher, more sporty pad for just a little bit more feel at the lever, but there is good power there. And honestly, from a beginner perspective, I think these brakes are going to be really, really forgiving. And having a good bit of power at the rear is also an advantage because that tends to be what a lot of new riders really default to. And yeah, these things just look awesome. So a win all round, really good value as well, which is a huge selling point, of course, because you want something really good value as a new rider. And just really exciting to see Royal Enfield expanding into this area, which, if I'm really honest, is kind of where I was hoping they'd go. Obviously, the 350s are a totally different line of bike, and for me, I like a little bit more performance, and I've just been waiting for them to introduce something like this. And to see them do it and to see it be such a great machine is really, really encouraging. So if you've got any questions, leave them down below in the comments. As always, stay safe out there, and thanks for watching.